This is your Mining Disrupt news surge for Monday, March 3rd, 2025. And if you haven't already gotten your tickets to this right down there, scan that QR code because we are just, from this date, 3 short weeks out from the Mining Disrupt Expo happening in Fort Lauderdale, Florida, March 25th through the 27th. This is going to be a big one. I've said that a number of times, and I imagine I said it last year, but boy, oh boy, oh boy, we are heading into truly historic times. Last year, we were heading into an election that was going to shape the future to come. That election is now behind us, and we are seeing that future play out in front of us in real time. The states are leading the way. And when I say the states are leading the way, this is what I'm talking about. Utah is in the lead of that race. They're just one step away from having Bitcoin laws enacted. But before I get into all the news of this week, I've got to remind you that this is where you come for entertainment and education. No financial advice from this guy right here, just entertainment and education. Now let's jump right over to the numbers showing here on timechaincalendar.com. Yeah, we've seen a bit of a dip. This is what I'm going to be talking about in the opinion section. This dip. Why did it happen and what does it mean? Well, depending on who you are, that $85,000 represents sadness, loss, pain, or an exceptional opportunity. Which camp do you sit in? We're jumping right into this news week with a post from my favorite Bitcoin related Apple, W_S_Bitcoin. Who's selling their Bitcoin? He asks. Well, if we look on chain, most of the movement over the past year has come from 1 to 5 year old coins. And then he's got a breakdown here of the short-term hodlers, medium-term hodlers, and long-term hodlers. We're going to be coming back to this idea in the opinion section. Who's selling? Why are they selling? And what does it all mean? If we look at on-chain analytics, does it tell us a story? And there's two tales to this. But before we get into all that, we've got to touch on Tuesday here. Dr. Profit says Bitcoin production cost is now at $95,000. And as we just looked at, the price is $85,000. There's a mismatch there. Current price is lower than production cost level. Historically, one of the best buying opportunities. And then the Coin Dad says, I open my feed and these are the first two posts I see. One from Peter Schiff saying, oh, Bitcoin is down now over 20%, an official bear market, so much for a U.S. strategic reserve. Establishing one now could look like a Bitcoin bailout fund. Trump needs to distance himself from Bitcoin so as not to be associated with its demise. Trump likes winners, not losers. And then Trump's son says, buy the dip. I'm not sure you could have two takes that are more opposed, more different than each other than those two right there. Moving right into Wednesday, I've got two posts from Samson Mao, Excellion, and he says here in the first one, the real Bitcoin bull market is about to begin. Don't let the drawdown and people calling for 0.07 million fool you. Every single time there's a drawdown, analysts always come up with a reason for why we might go lower. And then, doing a little poking around, I saw this wonderful tweet from Samson Mao. And this reminds me of that famous saying that time in the market beats timing the market. He says, hodlers can hodl longer than markets can stay irrational. The longer you're in, the greater you are rewarded. And weaving things around and connecting these threads, let's jump over to Thursday where, hey, look at this, we're back with the Apple. He says, I'd like to be a Bitcoin whale. And the only way that's happening is if the price goes back down to $100. You think I'm upset by a pullback to 82K? Well, I am, just not in the way you think. I want it to go lower. And this is going to be the crux of what I talk about in the opinion section. Depending on how long you've been in, your mindset will have shifted or it will not have. Where do you sit? And then on Friday, we are going to return to Samson Mao where he says 1 million is conservative. And I'm not going to play this one right here this Saturday, but it's a clip of Sailor saying, volatility is a gift to the faithful. It scares away the tourist. It scares away the lazy, the people not willing to look into it. That's my read on that. It scares away the people that are already conventionally rich, that have all the money. And then to close things out, this one from David Marcus, who had a little something to do with PayPal. He says, zero doubt in my mind, sats equal Bitcoin's TCP/IP packets. Tiny bits that will eventually move trillions in USD daily. Internet did data. This will do money. Now, I'm not going to go and dig it up, but there was a bit of a back and forth from two very prominent, very well-known individuals in the Bitcoin space. One was Samson Mow, the other was Checkmatey. Checkmatey has his eyes on the forensic data of the block height, blockchain, block analysis. He's in the weeds like very few people are. And that gives him a deep insight into what is going on with Bitcoin. And he is saying that there is no manipulation happening. Well, Samson Mow says there is. And the thing that Samson has is a bird's eye view. He is literally going around, as far as I can tell, on a monthly, weekly, a pretty regular basis around the world. Here he is posting from Hong Kong. The guy gets around. And when you get around and when you talk to people like he's talking to, you start to get an idea of what people are doing. You start to have connections. You start getting in the weeds in a different kind of way. Is it possible that both Checkmate and Samson Mow are both right? I certainly think so. Now, it's not possible that manipulation is happening and isn't happening, but it might not be happening in the way that Checkmatey thinks it's happening. Now you might say, boy, Del, that's a lot of words for not much data to back it up. Well, I just asked Grok how this could happen. And if you tell me that all of these options here are completely off the table and cannot possibly happen with Bitcoin, I'm going to tell you, you might be mistaken. I think the takeaway here is, and I don't think that many people would dispute this, is that if you have enough money, you can do a lot of things. And I don't think that Bitcoin manipulation is off the table. So, returning to point 4 here, whale manipulation, is it possible that somebody like Checkmate sees a bunch of sales, people are selling coins? Yes, true, but is it possible that could be done in a way that doesn't raise too much suspicion? And is it also possible that somebody like Samson Mow, with all of his connections, all the people that he's talked to, has an ear to a floor or two that you and I might not, and is aware that this kind of thing can certainly happen? With all that said, there is something that I want to leave you with here, and it's this right here. Hodlers can hodl longer than markets can stay irrational. If you understand the fundamentals of Bitcoin, if you really truly grasp it, and you've had that mental shift that I've talked about, you'll see a drawdown as an opportunity, not a time to cry. And with that said, we've got just about 3 weeks before the year's biggest, baddest mining expo. Please make sure you get those tickets to be there. If you're interested in partnering with us as a sponsor, if you want to be the coffee provider and have everybody walking around with your name on a cup, check us out. Check out the Mining Disrupt website, and I will see you there if you make it. Until next week. Okay, well, obviously there was some huge breaking news that broke Sunday, and I'm going to be saving my opinion and talking about this for next week because, well, there's a really big reason why I'm waiting to talk about this. And anything that's coming out within 12, 24, even 48 or 72 hours of this breaking is going to be somewhat reactionary. And I want to be a little bit more even-headed. See you next week.